Hey Masters, you guys know how important health and nutrition is to me. I just want to talk to you a little bit about products I use called AdvoCare. I've been using these products for about a year and a half now, mostly just for energy. They've got a really awesome drink. It's called Spark. If you want to check out anything, I would tell you, go check out the energy drink Spark. That's what I did for, like I said, almost a year and a half without even trying any of their other products. And then this past January, a bunch of us, January 4th, decided we were going to do the 24-day challenge, which is a 10-day cleanse and then 14 days of just really healthy eating, vitamins, meal replacement, just awesome 24 days just to kind of get yourself on track and get into some right habits. So Richie Ryan did it with us. Guys, he lost, today's February 5th. I think he's at 24 pounds lost since January 4th. Melissa at our office lost 6 pounds. Min at our office lost 5 pounds. Guys, listen, it's amazing. Regardless, if your goal is losing weight, my goal wasn't losing weight. I did the challenge just so I could experience it. And, I lost a few pounds, but now I put some weight back on because I started using some of the supplements and the protein powder and all the other stuff. So now I've gained about 3 pounds of muscle and just feel awesome. My energy's through the roof. So whether you're looking for energy or you're looking for just wellness, they've got some amazing green products that I love taking before I go to bed. Or if you're looking for performance, athletic products, we've got the athletic performance products. And then just active, if you're an active adult, maybe getting a little older in the age and you want to just keep everything working the right way and functioning. Listen, Gary Keller said it best. If you don't take care of your body, where are you gonna live? And I just love that. So, hey, I just ask you to check out AdvoCare's products. I'm a distributor, so I'd love to help you, talk to you about your nutrition and health goals. You go to livelongersmarter.com, livelongersmarter.com. Thank you guys. You rock. Enjoy the podcast.
Get ready for one more sale, inspiring you with ideas through powerful and engaging interviews with top performers of their field. Now, join us as we discuss techniques and strategies of the coolest and most successful people on the planet.
Hey Masters, welcome to another episode of Path to Mastery. And some of you may have noticed that we recently changed our name. Well, we've been transitioning over the past few months away from the One More Sale straight to Path to Mastery, being because everything we're doing, everything we're sharing, these interviews, these tips, tools, strategies, success principles, the people we meet, every one of them is leading us on our path to mastery. And that we know by just listening to these things, implementing, doing what these experts are sharing with us is leading us to the path to mastery, which ultimately is going to lead to more sales. So that's why we took out the One More Sale, and we're just going to focus on path to mastery. And speaking of that, man, we have a really cool interview for you this week. This guy's name is Waldo Waldman. Listen, he's got a New York Times best-selling book called Never Fly Solo. It's just phenomenal. This guy's he's an Air Force fighter pilot, ex-Air Force fighter pilot, 65 missions. In his book, he discusses what he calls the flight plan, which is really a metaphor for goal planning and setting your goals. He talks about your wingman a lot, and I love this metaphor. And it's really, guys, about all the people we surround ourselves with. It's our team members, our teammates, the people we listen to, our coaches, everybody, the people we show up and work with every single day. I absolutely love the metaphor for the wingman. And then also another philosophy he's got that's brilliant is he calls lift and drag. And the same thing, it's about, the people around us. Are they lifting us up or are they dragging us down? But he's using a fighter jet, right? An F-16, a lift and drag is how it gets off the ground. But same thing in life, right? The people around us, the people we surround ourselves with are helping us either be more successful or they're dragging us down. And I love that metaphor as well. Listen, the book is just brilliant. You can go get yourself, he'll tell you how to get yourself a free copy after the interview. But listen, hey guys, enjoy. Please share it with someone else. And I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd love to hear what else you're looking for. And enjoy. Hey Masters, welcome to another episode of Path to Mastery. My friends, and listen, we go out there, we find you the best of the best. I heard this guy on the Entrepreneur on Fire show, and he was just nailing it. So I reached out to him, and he decided to join us. So his name's Waldo Waldman. So, hey, Waldo, first off, hey, thanks for joining us, man.
You got it, Dave. Thanks for having me.
And I also want to say, thank you for your service. You're in the armed services. You've protected our country for a lot of years. So I want to say thank you for that as well.
Proud to do it, Dave. I appreciate it a ton.
Yes, sir. So I'm going to read your bio, and then we're going to get into what you do and how that translates into sales. Okay, so Lieutenant Colonel Waldo Waldman, the Wingman, is a peak performance keynote speaker, executive coach, and author of the New York Times and Wall Street Journal best-selling Never Fly Solo, which is an awesome book. A graduate of the Air Force Academy, Waldo is a decorated combat fighter pilot and expert in helping leaders and organizations accelerate performance in changing environments. He's earned an MBA. He has real-world sales experience, inductee into the prestigious Professional Speakers Hall of Fame. And Waldo's clients include Marriott, Hewlett-Packard, Siemens, Verizon. He's been featured on Fox and Friends, CNN, MSNBC, Inc. magazine, the Harvard Business Review, and now Path to Mastery. So, hey, man, thank you for joining us.
You got it, Dave.
Awesome. And great bio. So thank you.
Thanks.
And hopefully I didn't butcher it too much.
No, it's all. No, people don't care about the bio; they care about value, right?
That's absolutely right, my friend. All right. So let's first off talk about your book. I mean, I had the opportunity to listen to your book on Audible, and I loved it. And like I said, I heard you on John Dumas' show. And I just said, wow, this guy's awesome. I want to get him on my show. I want to meet him. I want to learn from him. So the book is called Never
Fly Solo.
Never Fly Solo. Yes, sorry, Never Fly Solo. I keep thinking of the Wingman. That's what I keep thinking of you as, because
that's going to be my next book, actually. It's going to be called Wingman. It's about mentorship and peak performance and making tough decisions in life. So you're mentally in sync with my next book.
I am, because it's in every single chapter in this book. You're just talking about the Wingman consistently in every chapter. And that's what's in my mind. When I think of you, I think of the Wingman. So tell us about the book, Never Fly Solo. To give us the essence, and then we're going to go deep into some specifics.
Got it. So here's the deal. Never Fly Solo is a book based on my background, not just as a fighter pilot, but also in sales. I was a commission-only salesperson in B2B consulting, high-level tax consulting. Don't ask how a fighter pilot got involved in tax. That's another story. And then I was also in technology sales, but, flying combat missions, being prepared, creating a collaborative culture with the men and women in my squadrons, bridged over into the business world where the missiles may not be life or death, but it'll impact our life, the life and death of our business, the life and death of our future. So what I talk about in Never Fly Solo is, how do you create a culture in your personal life and in your business where people feel comfortable coming to you for help? You've got sales top guns listening in, real estate agents, very commoditized world, as you know, the mortgage brokers, et cetera. Hey, when you have a client or a prospect that comes to you for help and feels confident in your ability to deliver on that help, that's what being a wingman's about. And it's also about that we're all standing on the backs of giants, that we can't win alone. So the people that we meet on our road to mastery, they're going to be the ones to give us insights, coaching, slap us around a little bit, right? To, improve our vector, get us on the right path. And that's what I really try to distill in this book. You can't win alone. You need a wingman to help you fly, fight, and win.
Yeah, I really get that from the book, and it's in almost every chapter, Waldo. And I mean, it just consistently comes up, and you can explain it better than me, but it's really Wingman and the people that are supporting you, right? The people that have your back, the people you're affiliating with, associated with, the people around you. It's all that, right?
Oh, yeah. And a lot of us, as entrepreneurs, we may think that we're flying solo in our offices on the road, but there's so many back-end folks who allow us to get the job done, be it our IT managers, the folks doing the contracts for us, our administrators, inside sales, whoever it is, and you know who those folks are. The key is you have to nurture those relationships. You have to appreciate them. You have to coach them, be coached, because many times that wingman may not have anything to do with your business, but they may have everything to do with your personal success. And many people make the mistake, Dave. It's like all about business, but hey, let's face it, the issues we have with our spouse, in our personal lives, our habits, our patterns that help elevate us or drag us down, that's also going to be something that impacts our ability to take a great flight path to mastery that you talk about.
You know, it's interesting too, just listening to you, it kind of made me realize my wife is actually one of my wingmen, right? Is that accurate?
Oh, absolutely. She's your wing ma'am or your wing mate.
Wing master in my case.
Wing mate, yeah, wing general, right?
Yes.
So absolutely. So they're going to tell you oftentimes what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. And if you're listening to this program and you're hanging out with men and women who yes you to death, who don't push you, who don't challenge you, who don't really ruffle your feathers a little bit, and they're not willing to tick you off, and if you're not the type of person that's willing to get ticked off and have your ego bruised, then that's also going to hold you back from mastery. So find those folks and also be that type of person who's going to be brutally honest with care, with compassion, with tact. But in order to elevate our game plan and achieve mastery, sometimes it takes somebody else to really, really push us in a new direction and to facilitate it, to ask for it, to be open and coachable.
All right. So, I mean, I went through the book, and like I said, I've gotten so many amazing things from it, and I want to touch on a lot of those points. You know, but the kid in me wants to have this conversation. I mean, everybody, at least all guys, love fighter jets. I mean, it doesn't get any cooler than a fighter jet. Right? So tell us about, that experience. I know in the book you talk about, lift and drag, and I get it's a metaphor for things holding you back. But one thing too, I didn't realize is, when I see fighter jets, I mean, I've never been in the military, but we see them and they fly in formations, they're flying close together. I never realized there was a reason for that. I just thought that's how they did it. But in your book, you really explain why that's important. Yeah,
and many times if you're going into the weather, if you're going against the enemy, where you want to shield the fact that you're, let's say, a force of eight fighter aircraft flying in the sky. When you fly together, it's tough for radars to pick that up. And many times if you're flying and you have an engine problem or a navigation issue or there's weather and you need to stay together, you get into tight fingertip formation around 3 feet from your wingman and you're flying together in the clouds or having that wingman guide you through, and all you're doing is flying off that wing. You trust him or her to take you where you need to go, to be the stable platform. And this is so important in life. Sometimes you have to relinquish control to another wingman, somebody who can help you to land your jet when you don't have the thrust, the firepower, or if you have an engine problem or some system malfunction. Lord knows we all have those system malfunctions in our lives. Sometimes somebody else needs to take us and get us on the ground safely so we can live another day,
So when you're in, I love the metaphor you used for, use the business, the people around you and our wingmen. But when you're flying in these formations, 3 feet from another person's wing, is that feel, or is that more like calculation, or in your book, you give a great example too, where I think you got attacked by missiles, right? There was some missiles shot at you, right. And you were able to, you can tell the story better than I can, but you avoided that. So when that's going on, I mean, is that a feel thing, Waldo, or is that more of like a calculation? I guess I'm just trying to figure out what's going on in your head.
Well, listen, flying fighters and in any complicated, physiologically demanding and mentally stressing environment, there's a certain feel involved, but the thing that gives you confidence, that allows you to execute in particular, when the pressure's on, when the weather's bad or a missile's coming, or if you're on a call, you got a sales objection, you've got a life issue being thrown at you, you've got to be prepared. Wingmen never wing it. We strap in, we're confident, we put in the time, we practice, we study the regulations, we chair flew, we rehearsed in a chair with our team, mentally going through every radio call, every procedure, every challenge, and we're barking orders at each other. What are you going to do if you have an engine failure? Where's the nearest emergency field? What's the frequency? Your missile's coming at your left 9 o'clock. What are you going to do? And we practice under pressure because in real life, when you're under the gun, that sail is at risk. You better be confident and your ability to adapt, to breathe easy, to execute and fly that tight fingertip formation or land your jet under adverse conditions is going to be a total byproduct of your training. So when it comes to peak performance and mastery in any level, you've got to put in the time. You've got to put the mental time in and have the discipline to practice, to sweat. That's the differentiator from average people and folks who've mastered the Top Gun skills of business and life.
I love that. And you tell me if I'm right after. So it's like you've done it so many times, it becomes a reflex, right?
Yes. Now, then you don't really need to think about it. Your training takes over. Your training takes over. And then just like when you're up at bat, if you play baseball or soccer or whatever, you develop a skill, those neurons, those synapses are firing the right way so you can be in the moment. And let that training take over. So that's why I think just like, listening to these podcasts, creating new paradigms in your life, getting coaching, reading books, practicing your presentations, learning the regulations, being able to call them on short notice. But just as important, and this goes back to the Wingman philosophy, Dave, is that you may not be able to solve every problem on your own. There's going to be an engine failure or a missile launch where you're going to say, holy crap, I need somebody to help me land this jet, or give me advice and coach me down, help me along. And that's where your relationships, your peers, your coaches are going to really help you elevate your game plan, because as human beings, fear is going to take over and you can't solve every competitive threat. You need someone.
Yeah, another thing I took from the book was you talk about motivation versus practice and preparation, and also chair flying, which you mentioned earlier. And in sales, what we call that role playing, right? We role play. We may call another sales agent and role play the scenario. If he says this, you say this, and blah blah blah. What it does though is it prepares us. So you guys are doing the exact same thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, we do it under pressure. If you're sitting listening to Tchaikovsky in a library with headphones on, chilled out, that's not reality. So I like the fact that you're practicing with your peers, you're rehearsing, and you're embarrassing yourself in front of your peers, your coaches, et cetera, instead of in front of the client, right? So really, really important to do that. And you mentioned before about the motivation aspect as far as, we've all heard the expression attitude determines altitude, right, Dave? I'm sure, if you're in any sort of personal development. I don't believe that attitude determines altitude. Your attitude, your passion, your drive is going to get you out of bed. It'll maybe even help you strap into a jet and be willing to get shot at, go to work, start a business, make a cold call. But at the end of the day, your attitude plus your action, your aptitude, that's going to help you elevate your game plan. There are so many folks out there, and I'm sure you meet them, and folks who are listening on this podcast know people with positive attitudes, enthusiastic, great personalities. You love hanging out with them. You'll drink a beer, play poker, have fun, go to bowling or whatever. But would you really trust them to fly with you in business when the missiles are coming? And when we flew, Dave, I would rather fly with somebody who was prepared, who did the hard work, who I trusted with their acumen and skills, as opposed to somebody I just liked with a positive, enthusiastic attitude. It's great to have both. But at the end of the day, the thing that separates the average from the top guns is their ability to execute the game plan, to literally fly the jet, to follow the procedures. Now, that's not going to elevate you to excellence, but it sure heck is a lot better than somebody with a positive attitude who's not putting in the work, who's what I call all thrust and no vector, right?
Yeah.
You need both. So don't sell out on yourself. You got to put in the time. It's great to have both, but you got to sweat these days. That's what's going to decommoditize you and help you become a master.
Yeah, I agree with 100%. And I love the quote too, and we're going to switch gears after this, but I'm a trainer for Keller Williams, and I use it in a lot of my classes. I think it was from the SEALs. The more we sweat in practice, the less we bleed in war. I know your version was a little bit different than that. Was it the more we sweat in peace? Or so you tell me. I don't remember.
The more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in battle.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. I don't know if that's like a military quote, maybe just a couple of different versions if you're in Air Force, Marines, whatever. But it's just so powerful because it's so true.
Yeah, the more you sweat, the less you bleed. It is a metaphor for life. I also have a personal acronym for WIN, which stands for work it now, right? Winners work. We don't put off tomorrow. We do it today. We work it now. We don't delay. And procrastinators never ultimately win in life, right? You've got to take action more than ever. If you're going to beat your competitor, get the clients, deal with your sales, et cetera, you got to make the extra phone call. So work it now. We got to sweat and sacrifice. I don't believe in work smarter, not harder. There's a lot of truth to that. But in my opinion, at the end of the day, hard work is smart work. If you're watching, Friends reruns at night and playing computer games or hanging out playing poker all weekend while your competition is out there putting in the time, making the extra calls, hey, you better deal with the consequences. You may not be as competitive and as successful as your buddy down the street. So I just think hard work is just a bread and butter, should be part of your flight plan every day. And by the way, I bought my last home, the home that I'm in right now, my home office, from a Keller Williams rep.
All right
Here. And Rick Hale is a big Keller Williams agent in Georgia. I work with his organization.
Good to know.
And I just got a lot of respect for that organization.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. Okay, so I want to switch gears and I want to talk about mindset a bit because, you talk about in the book anxiety, fear, self-doubt, those things that we all deal with as well in sales, right? It comes from, some people don't even want to role play or chair fly, like you call it, because they're scared they're going to sound silly or they're not going to do well. How do we deal with that? Like, how do you get beyond that anxiety? Because, you're up in a fighter plane. If you're having fear, anxiety, self-doubt in the middle of a battle, there's going to be some problems.
You're exactly right. And that fear, anxiety, and self-doubt is normal. We are not superhuman. It's going to creep in. The best of the best channelize and focus and kind of put that to the side and not let it take charge, right? And the courageous ones, the ones who are able to deal with their fear and still take action and still risk everything, put their lives on the line, risk losing, but doing everything they can to win, those are the ones you want to fly with. That's mastery. Because challenge is going to take over. And I think you remember from my book, and I want folks to really, really listen to this because I didn't have a smooth flight plan my whole career. 3 years of my 11-year active duty flying career, almost 3,000 hours. A few years into it, I almost died in a scuba diving accident and had a panic attack underwater, freaked out, almost died. And then a few days later, I'm back in the cockpit flying. And in essence, I developed the same fear and panic that I had a few days prior. But instead of being 30 feet under the water, now I'm 30,000 feet in the air. I had the same panic attack, freaked out, and realized I had claustrophobia. Like, I got to get the heck out of this plane. And let's all face it, that's probably not the best thing for a fighter pilot to have.
Yeah. And
so for the next 8 years of my 11-year flying career, every single time I strapped into the jet to do what I loved more than anything else, which was to fly combat fighters and just to kick some ass, I had to deal with this uncertainty and doubt and fear, wondering if I'd have that panic attack. And it creeped up on me every mission, every flight, be it in training and combat. But I didn't quit. It's because I didn't want to play it safe in my life. I didn't want to have to.
So let me ask you though. So you're in the plane, right? You're strapped in. How do you keep moving forward though? Like, because this is such a key point for our listeners. In the midst of this, you kept moving forward. You didn't quit. You didn't say, you know what, this isn't a career for me. I'm going to do something else. You kept moving forward. How do you do that?
We could talk about this probably for 5 hours, but here's a couple things you need to think about. Number one, you have to realize that when you look to your left and right, other people, not just yourself, are depending on you to succeed. When I flew in those combat missions, if I quit, when I was taking up the student to teach him or her how to fly, if I quit, if I let my fear get the best of me, then they would have been impacted. Then my wingman would have been at a disadvantage. Instead of being 2 aircraft, they'd be 1. Instead of 4, they'd be 3. And their lives would be on the line. So what helped me take the action was realizing they needed me. I thought outside my cockpit. I thought about those who needed me. And if you're a parent, if you've got a brother or sister or a best friend that you love more than anything else, or a child, you realize that you jump off a 50-foot diving board for that loved one if they called out for help, even though you may be afraid of heights, which also I am afraid of heights as well, because you're thinking about them. You're thinking about others. And when you are maniacally focused on service and the fact that others need you, you commit more than you would if you would, you'd commit more for them than you would for yourself. So really important paradigm. So find out who it is that you love. What is it that you love? The passion, the drive, the thing that you're willing to fight for, that you love more than anything. Keep sight of that. When the missiles are coming, it'll help you force your way forward. It's, for example, if you're suffering through sales and you need to get your kid medication, or you want to buy that dream home for your family, put your kid through college, or take them to Disney World, or buy them that special Lego set that they wanted, and watch that smile on their face. I mean, you got to think about who you're serving and who needs you. So that was a really big thing. And also it was my pride. It was my pride. It was the fact that I didn't want to be looked at as a loser and as a wimp. And I know that sounds a little bit raw, but sometimes your ego is going to help you take that jump off the diving board in the jet, because you don't want to be looked at as somebody average and weak. And I'm telling you, it helped me. It helped me go through. So a little bit of ego, a little bit of embarrassment from your peers. Hey man, that helped me go through. And so don't be afraid to be honest with yourself. That's why having good friends and good leaders who you'd follow through fire is a big thing. And then the last thing that helped me get through the fear was the fact that I envisioned these missions. I was prepared. I knew, okay, if something happens, these are your auxiliary airfields. I felt confident in myself. I got sleep. I worked out. I gave myself mental self-talk. I really pushed myself to do it. So that psychological edge, that mental health, very key in allowing me to deal with my fears. And if you're not getting sleep, if you're out drinking, eating like garbage, slacking off, drinking, smoking, if you want to be a master in your life, those things could drag you down. And that could be the difference between executing despite your fear or giving into that fear, because you don't have the horsepower or the fortitude to break your barriers. So don't be a wimp, man. This is about horsepower and about mastery. Just as everything that you talk about, Dave, it's not easy. It's not easy at all.
You are listening to One More Sale.
When you talk about lift and drag, again, me being a nerd and loving fighter planes, I just think that all this is so cool. But you know how lift and drag, when it comes to a plane, is what's keeping you guys in the air. It's creating mobility. Right. It's creating mobility, I think is the word I'm looking for. But same thing in our business. Those are the people that are maybe sometimes holding us back. Things, distractions, people, whatever. So talk to us about the lift and drag metaphor for business.
Right. So to take that aircraft and get it airborne requires a tremendous amount of lift. There are not a lot of thrust from the engines, but by the fact that the gear are hanging down, you've got a lot of drag, the airframe. It's very difficult for that aircraft to fly. So lift must exceed drag if you are to fly. And this relates back to what I just talked about, your habits, your behaviors, your relationships. You also mentioned this as well. There are people in our lives who are lifting us up or dragging us down. They are folks who don't see the best in us, who are negative, who are pollutants in our minds, right? And sometimes, let's face it, it's a family member, it's a buddy of ours who we've known since childhood. They're just not feeding you the type of fuel that you need to grow. And my suggestion is to jettison them. Limit your time hanging out with them. Your life, your family, your dreams are too important for you to be drugged down from somebody else. And by the way, look in the mirror, because many times the person dragging us down is the one looking straight at us, right? Because we're negative, because we're not doing the hard work, because we're not putting positive things in our mind and emulating excellence, right? And also make sure that you're the lifter as well. You're the inspirer. If you're in sales, you got to let your wingman know, your customers, your clients, your prospects, your teammates, hey, I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to be the lifter, not the dragger. And in the same sense, in your habits and patterns, if you're working out or not, or eating like garbage, or if you have nasty habits and addictions, and we all have them in some way or another, right? You got to look yourself in the mirror and say, look, What is it that I'm doing that's dragging me down, that's holding me back from mastery? And do I have the self-discipline to say no when I want to say yes? Am I willing to jettison all that extra drag, that extra weight, so that I can free myself and reach new heights? That takes a lot of hard work. And let me tell you this, sometimes it takes a wingman, somebody you trust, who loves you, who wants the best for you, to call out some of the things that are dragging you down. Because sometimes we have a blind spot. And a wingman looks at that blind spot, checks our 6, which is behind us, and tells us what we need to hear and not what we want to hear.
Love it, my friend. Love it. And all of our listeners need to go pick up your book, and you can tell us how to do that in a minute. So let me ask you this, Waldo. I mean, you were a successful fighter pilot. I think 65 missions. Is that correct?
Yes.
Served our country. Appreciate it. Now you're a keynote speaker, recognized in the Hall of Fame. Why are you successful? Like, what makes you successful like that?
So look, it's about being relevant. It's about waking up every day, realizing that you've got to earn your wings today, that complacency kills. And, this morning, my son was 6. I got a little 6-year-old at home, just a wonderful little boy. My wife was in the room with him. He's really, really sick and fighting a cold. And I went to bed late. We got up late, and I had a 7:30 networking meeting. An attorney that I know I recently met at my son's private school, just a great guy. And we had breakfast at 7:30. I'm like, I didn't hit the gym yesterday. I got to get my butt out of bed and get some firepower going. I hit the gym. I hate working out in the morning. But I hit the gym. I did my insanity. I did 90% of it. I couldn't do the last 10%. I had to take the shower. I didn't want to be late, even though I was. There was traffic, so shame on me. I didn't show up on time. But so I put in the hard work, man. I'm energized even more today. I'm ready for this call for you. I want to give to your listeners. I want to get them to kick their own butts and take action. So I try to emulate excellence every single day. I outwork my competitors. I get coaching. I invest. I waste a lot of money sometimes because sometimes you gotta lose 10 grand to make 100. So that's kind of what I try to do. And I'm telling you, I'm so thankful for the people in my life who I nurtured relationships with, who help me every day. People like you, David. I don't know you too well, but you reached out. You listened to my podcast and read my book. You reached out for help, and I'm learning from you, and you're learning from me. And that's what I do in my life. There's never anybody who can't teach me about success, about what to do, and perhaps what not to do.
Amen.
I think that's kind of why I'm pretty successful, and I'm still taking it to the next level every single day. Doing my best.
Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. So a couple of things you shared with us. Fear is normal. I know you said that, and we could probably spend another 5 hours on that.
Yep.
Think more about others than yourself. It sounds to me like when you're up there, when you're dealing with anxiety, fear, you're thinking about making sure you're taking care of your wingman, and you got these guys' interests, just like your children, ahead of yours at that particular time.
Right.
And also, outwork. Sounds like you're a hard worker, my friend, and you're going to outwork everybody, and that's why you're successful.
Yes, sir.
So what didn't I ask you that I probably should have asked?
Actually, you're a great interview, and I appreciate the conversation with you, Dave. I just want to mention one other point to the team, to your listeners, to your viewers who invested the time to listen to the podcast, to realize that they want to, break their own barriers and reach new heights, is really don't be afraid to ask for help. The most important thing you can do is to take off your mask, realize that you may not be a top gun in every component of your life, to acknowledge your weaknesses, and to be vulnerable enough to say, look, Dave, look, Waldo, look, Mike, Lisa, Coach, I need help. Can you help lift me up? You ask with respect. You ask with humility. People in general want to help you. And I think if we're willing to do that, and just as important, if we're willing to help others, if we're willing to lend our wings, inconvenience ourselves, say no to something that you want to say yes to, or say yes to something that you really wanted to say no to invest the time, to sacrifice, to mentor, to help out somebody, even though you may not have a dollar sign attached to it. That's how you truly create a legacy in your life, for your family, and most importantly, for the person that looks at you in the morning every day in the mirror. And that's how you build that confidence, knowing that you're doing the right thing for your family, for God. And if you do that, then the business is going to come. You're going to live a life of contentment and joy that most people who are in the highlights, the celebrities out there who really may not have the character, that's a big competitive advantage for life and success and mastery.
Love it. Okay, so a couple things. One is my listeners can get a free copy of your book, an audio copy. And then how do we get in touch with you? So give us the details on that.
Okay, so if you Google Waldo Waldman, Google that. There's a ton of information out there, articles, notes, etc. My website is yourwingman.com, yourwingman.com. Check it out. There's tons of videos on there. I've got a YouTube page as well. If you want to subscribe, I send out videos as well. Share it with your friends. If you have a client who wants to hire me for their engagement, or if you want to just get some coaching, et cetera, just reach out. I'll help you. I don't get paid for everything, and I'm happy to give you some advice. My book, Never Fly Solo, is a New York Times bestseller. If you want to get a free copy of it to listen when you're on that Stairmaster or in the car getting ready to go do a seminar or meet a new client, is you can find it at yourwingman.com, yourwingman.com/NFS, as in Never Fly Solo. NFS, Nancy Foxtrot Sierra. The password is Wingman, all lowercase, and that'll give you a link to my book. You can sign up, download it. It's a beautiful audio copy, high res, the same stuff that you can get on Audible. Download it, and if you have some feedback, send me a note, info@yourwingman.com.
Well, thank you, my friend. And listeners, here you go. Here's one more step on your path to sales mastery. Go out there right away. Get yourself a copy of that book. It is phenomenal. It is brilliant. Waldo, again, I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your service.
And I thank you for our new friendship, Dave. I do hope we get a chance to shake hands in person. And thank you for what you do for your listeners and for your clients as well.
If you're anything like me and you love podcasts, I guarantee you're going to love audiobooks. And audible.com is the largest resource of audiobooks. I'm super excited about my partnership with audible.com, where I can offer you a free audiobook. All you have to do is simply go to www.davidsfreebook.com and sign up, and you get yourself a free book. Yes, absolutely free, never charged, no membership. If you love the service, then obviously continue using it, but this is completely free. Again, www.davidsfreebook.com. Get yourself a free audiobook and enjoy.
You are listening to One More Sale with your host, David I. Hill, author of The Sales Playbook. Get your copy at www.thesalesplaybook.net.